Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring FlyingIrOn in our top left corner, playing our red Protoss, and in the bottom right we have TaCZennith, our blue Zerg. Both players are in Masters. We're on Ohana, and we're going to have a good time, I guarantee it, because Masters are very good at their game. I've got a pumpkin ale right next to me, because it's that time of the year. I heartily suggest you guys go out and get something pumpkin related immediately. I've had some pumpkin bread, and this is definitely the season for me. I love August, I love October, I love Halloween. I'm looking forward to it. You guys might notice the new little picture icon that my brother drew for me for the Ibigandscary. I love it. It's incredible. My brother's very talented. He's a very good artist, and I heartily congratulate him for his hard work into it. But beyond that, that's it for the prologue before the actual game starts. I mean, everybody knows that the first minute 30 is pretty boring. Protoss, though, FlyingIrOn is spicing things up, going for that Forge Fast Expand, which is totally standard and not at all surprising, but still kind of cool because it allows Protoss to get out that second base pretty early, kind of transition into the two-base power build that they really want to do, because Protoss on one base against one Zerg it's pretty hard to pull off, because Zerg can just, you know, get one leg up by having two bases and hit you pretty hard with roaches early on, or punish you by taking multiple bases, and you know, poor shy Protoss can't really do anything against it. No early gas from Protoss, as it's definitely doing the more mineral heavy approach to grabbing its early expo. That forge will finish up at about the couple seconds behind the spawning pool. Spawning pool was thrown down pretty early, actually. It was about a 10 pool, which, as far as things go, all things considered, is a bit more of a passive defensive play. Get out some early Zerglings so that they can deny the pylon that might be thrown down by FlyingIrOn's probe. The drone is on its way down, plenty of minerals there, but not 300, which means that even though FlyingIrOn did throw down that pylon, he didn't really delay the expansion too much. I think Zenith is a good enough player to know that that short of shenanigans were underway, and really that pylon, which gets canceled as soon as he sees the Zerglings, which is not the best of ideas, because those Zerglings could have come down and started doing more damage. As things are now, those Zerglings have free reign to either scout around trying to find that probe from FlyingIrOn, which is actually hiding out in the bottom left corner of the natural expand, or more dangerously, to charge up and try to slip in before this wall off gets completed. But FlyingIrOn knows what he's doing. He throws down a pylon, and with a single probe can definitely block off this wall off, because it is complete except for that little tiny gap. Then with the gateway on the way, one Zealot will be able to hold that pretty much indefinitely, even against 6 Zerglings, especially when backed by a photon cannon. The drone, sneaky, has sneaked behind the Vespene geysers, thrown down one pylon there. Another pylon right around here will completely wall in the probe, and photon cannon behind. This photon cannon, I don't know if it's within range of that hatchery. Regardless, if it's within range, it's going to be a hell of a time for the Zerglings to hit it, because they won't be able to hit more than 1 or 2 at a time, what with the other photon cannon going down right beside him. This is really bad, actually, for Zenith, because he needs to have his overlords scattering around behind there. Now that the hatchery has finished, he immediately gets vision. When that hatchery was building, you don't really get that superior vision, but now that the hatchery's done, he sees, oh wow, that photon cannon is just within range. Really good job by FlyingIrOn. He knows exactly what he was doing. That's a really cool name too, FlyingIrOn. It's nice. Going all out with his Zerglings, charging up to see what sort of damage they can do at the gap. No Zealot is underway, because that costs a lot of minerals to throw down 3 photon cannons. Photon cannon is under creep now, but with that hatchery going to go down, this, yeah, it's a little bit more money than what's been spent, but Zenith is actually saving up his gas, saving up his minerals for once that Baneling nest pops. He will be able to charge right in. The wall off is still not complete, but the Zealot is underway, and it'll finish. It will finish, but wow, a lot of Zerglings underway. I think Zenith is going to have to go and try to do some economic damage of his own. What with his hatchery down, it's 1 base versus 2 base, which is never a good thing for a Zerg. It's never a good thing for them to be even with Protoss, let alone down one base. 17 to 28 harvesters. Will these? Yes, they have morphed into Banelings. 7 Banelings should be enough to burst down this wall. Probably going to go for the forge in between the gateway, just to do plenty of damage. Maybe the pylon, since that is the weak link, pulling back the Zealot. Nice Baneling hits there. Oh, but they were focusing down the photon cannons rather than running past and trying to make their way into the pseudo-saturated natural. 4 Zerglings have made it up to the high ground. They might try a risky maneuver, which it would be to morph into Banelings on the high ground. 3 Banelings being morphed on the low ground, not going to be very helpful, what with the wall off completed. These guys have gone unscouted for now. Oh no! All these probes getting pulled. They scout. One immediately explodes on a single probe. Some really nice control from Flying Iron there, pulling his probes down so that they're within range of at least one of the photon cannons. The Zealot has found the other Banelings. One of them explodes, another one gets taken down. All of a sudden, Zenith is back pretty much into a corner. Yeah, both players are mining off of one base at a time. The natural has been, or the main has been completely unsaturated. He's just now getting his probes back to work, but a 10 harvester deficit in Flying Iron's favor. Zenith is in a lot of trouble. He does have a lot of Zerglings on the low ground, another 12 on the way, but he hasn't taken any expansion, and he's behind on pretty much everything, including tech. Stargate now being built down on the low ground. Man, Flying Iron is in a fantastic position. This wall off that he has is nigh indestructible, and even if he went for the destructible rocks, he'd be taking quite a lot of damage from the photon cannons. And then this is, I really don't know what the right decision is. Probably to throw down a third, a natural at the third, and then maybe another one at the fourth, because the infrastructure that Flying Iron has really won't allow him to get out and do a lot of damage. He doesn't have a lot of gateways. He doesn't even have a cybernetics core. Finishing that warp gate tech, still quite a long ways to go. A lot of Banelings though. Another Baneling bust. Hopefully these Zerglings can get in and do enough damage. Yeah, they shouldn't have a problem with taking out these pylons, especially if they aim for this one, doing quite a lot of splash damage on the supplemental structures. One of the photon cannons does go unpowered. Some really nice, just devastating damage from all the Banelings. All of a sudden, there's a massive amount of Zerglings in the base. They scout the Void Ray being built at the Stargate, immediately make their way for all of the probes. Turnabout's fair play. They're going to be taking out that Nexus. Oh, man. Oh man, but what is Zenith doing? He's still on just one base. He needs to get out another base, especially with this Void Ray out right now. It looks like he is going to be managing to take out the Nexus from Flying Iron, but Flying Iron has a nice economy right now. He's got plenty of harvesters, 37 to 18, just a big lead. Some massive hits from Zenith can do quite a lot in taking care of that lead. Got to be very careful. The photon cannon from Flying Iron taking down every single one of the Banelings. Oh, this could be huge. Oh no, the probes forcing themselves to return and actually deal damage to the Zerglings as they were trying to take down the Nexus, now that their numbers have whittled enough. But 19 workers killed in Zenith's favor. That's definitely an equalizing blow at 22 to 18. Both players are on one base. Zenith could definitely get back into this. However, this is really what Flying Iron has to keep him in this game, is these 2 Void Rays. He'll be able to crush anything on the ground that that Zenith can build. Zenith's also supply blocked right now, and he's got quite a lot of Overlords that are scattered around the field, and that's going to represent quite a lot of expensive supply blocking. Wall-off was not completed. Couple hits from the Banelings takes down the single pylon. Another huge, oh, nice split from Zenith. This could be absolutely massive. Oh my goodness. Holy crap. I don't know how to see it. 3 to 18. Oh my goodness. What? 40 to, that's just massively swinging from one way to another. All of a sudden, Flying Iron has to his name 2 Void Rays, 5 probes, and a Zealot. What do you do? What do you do? Zenith's got to be feeling fantastic, getting up another queen. Even 2 queens isn't going to be enough to stop the 2 Void Rays, though. They'll be able to dart in and out and do more damage than the queens can, and continually maxing out their shields. They'll be able to push in and continually wear down Zenith. How much energy do they have? One of them does have enough for a couple transfuses, so that should be the equalizer blow. Got to be very careful if these Void Rays too. Can't afford to move them out and get them destroyed by these queens. Got to keep them alive, keep them cost effective for as long as possible. Here comes the big battle. The 3rd queen popping out just at the right time. The Void Rays doing what was right, which would be to focus down the queen that has the high energy, but they've taken quite a lot of damage, having to pull back immediately, only succeeding in taking down one of the queens down to 120 health. Another little poke from some Zerglings, some missed control from Flying Iron. Really needed to throw down a force field to keep the gate closed. Unfortunately, another sentry is going to be too late. Secondary sentry. Hopefully he'll throw down some force fields. Sees that the Nexus has not been rebuilt. All the money being poured into the Stargate. to make more Void Rays and also to make more probes, which is just absolutely desperately needs. Up to 9 harvesters, though. I mean, he's tripled his supply for the harvester count in a couple of minutes. What are these Void Rays doing? Oh, please tell me I didn't miss them dying. I think I did. No, he's got 3. Where are they? Did they go home? They went home. Awesome. 3 Void Rays back at home. Good job, Flying Iron. Not doing anything drastic while I wasn't looking. However, Zenith has taken the opportunity to throw down an Evo Chamber and a Spore, which means he will be pretty much protected from those Void Rays for the time being. Get it up a layer himself. I haven't seen one base Zerg in quite a long time. Hydralisk Den is a fantastic decision. Nidus Network, pretty good one too. It'll allow him to harass without making his main force, those slow Hydralisks, leave his home base. And once they're off creep, they can get cut to pieces so very, very quickly. Zenith is he's looking pretty good right now, strictly because of his harvester count. Tech-wise, he's maybe a little bit behind. 1 Void Ray, you know, just poking around, trying to catch the single Overseer, single Overlord, which is just stupid enough to go and get eaten by any of the floating around Void Rays. I'm very surprised that Zenith, I mean, I understand why he hasn't tried to take another expansion with the Void Rays out, but I'm really surprised that he's still trying to stay at the aggressor. I mean, he did such a huge blow to the economy. You really don't need to do this sort of doom push, which is what he's, you know, factoring into. He's got quite a lot of Hydralisks and Queens already in there. Overseers in position, throwing down the Nidus Worm on the high ground, pushing out where he knows or suspects that there's not a Nexus, and from that high ground he'll be able to target down, most importantly, the Stargate with those Hydras up on the high ground. This could be absolutely devastating. The Void Rays immediately return home. You can see on the mini-map 2 of them, which were hanging out just down by the map. Comes out spewing creep, a really good decision, but you really want to keep that energy so that you can transfuse on your Hydralisks. There goes the transfuse on the Hydralisk. Excellent play there. One of the Void Rays taken down to orange health almost instantly as the Hydras stay on top of the high ground, unpowering that Stargate. Very good play there, pushing in for those intimidating Zealots, though. And now that the Zealots are on the field, the very, very slow Queens and Hydras are kind of caught unprotected. Zealots have gone down, though. No more of a meat shield to protect the Void Ray so that they can do their damage per second. One of them with only 5 health has to wait until the... yeah, man, he's tenacious. I have to give it to Zenith for playing this absolutely perfectly. Those Hydras are just doing a fantastic job of just railing down that damage, and even though they're going to get cleaned up right now, harvester count has taken another blow as the probes were pulled, 17 to 23, and it looks like some defensive structures were being built, but that has been canceled, and the drones have been sent back home. Most importantly, he took out the Stargate. No more Void Rays. There's no way Zenith, Flying Iron can afford to make any more of those expensive structures. Where was that? I heard oh, just down by the 3rd, maybe just to scare him. I don't know. Hydras, though, going to work on the pylon will unpower all of the photon cannons, finally clean that up, finally get an expansion. Flying Iron's on his last leg, and he knows that he's going to have to push out right now. He's got a pretty sizable army, but and he also is, you know, this is going to take Zenith by surprise. He might suspect that this sort of thing's coming, especially with him taking the expansion down here. This would be the perfect time for Flying Iron to push out. But even if he does expect it, that's a lot of Stalkers. It's a lot of damage per second. They're exposing themselves right now, getting on that creep. So he's going to see that this army is coming, and in all honesty, he can just cancel the expansion, pull back, and try to defend with his Hydras, which should be enough to deal with this incoming force. But we will see. I mean, those Void Rays do represent quite a lot of damage. They've taken quite a lot of damage already. It's kind of a ragtag force from Protoss. But regardless of how things go, this has been a fantastic game. I'm really looking forward to seeing this end. Just a single Queen in that force, but it looks like Zenith has been powering out a bunch of Hydralisks right now, which is a pretty good decision. Also, back at home, now that Gateway Tech is done, you can see another gateway being added on to become a warp prism, and a pylon's being thrown up on the high ground, warping in just a handful more Stalkers as Flying Iron's preparing for that final push. Remember that Nidus Worm is thrown down on the low ground. Oh no! He's done it again. It's going to be a freaking base trade. Flying Iron pushing in as fast as he possibly can to start doing damage, but all the drones have been pulled, and 400 minerals and 300 for for Zenith, so he's throwing down his hatchery on the high ground. Remember, there is a probe down that planted this pylon. I don't know if it actually retreated or if it's still out on the map. Hydralisks represent quite a lot of damage per second. All of the drones had escaped already in the Nidus Worm. But where are the Void Rays? The Void Rays are going back home. But the creep has been spewed out, and hopefully these Hydras will be able to retreat fast enough to save the lair or the hatchery back at home. Definitely all of these structures are going to go down. It's going to come down to who can be the most tenacious. Remember, there is a Nidus Worm here and a Nidus Worm here, so if he tries to build something down at the third, and it looks like he's done a Nexus down at the third. Oh, those Hydras are so slow off of creep. Where has he built something? Something has been built back at home. Doesn't have enough money for a Nexus, but he does have enough for an extractor, so he needs to focus down this assimilator before all of these structures go down. He's got a handful back at home, but he needs to build an assimilator, throw all of his stuff in. Oh, the Nidus Worm has been cleaned up. Okay, so he's building a couple spores. They're right by the creep tumor, which is a pretty good idea because you can lift off those creep tumors or those spores and walk around with them. But everything back at home has been taken care of completely, completely covered up. We do have a Nidus Worm over in the corner, but that's going to get cleaned up by all these probes. Oh man, this is incredibly close. Now that the spore is done, he needs to lift off that spore, and by lift off I mean pick up, and just have him walk down and you know, deal with that. These Hydras are so very, very slow. I'm suspecting the Flying Iron's not going to have an issue with outmaneuvering them with his Void Rays, because in reality, all these Stalkers, they could probably deal with all of these Hydras right now. I think if this came down to an even fight, Flying Iron would come out on top with all the probes and just different structures being scattered here and there. No one has rebuilt any bases. Everything has been revealed, so they all know where those structures are. Good thing that Zenith's doing his due diligence, taking care of all those assimilators. But Flying Iron is massing in the top left corner, moving in his 2 Void Rays. Did he lose one? He did lose one. To come around and try to take out that single extractor. He has enough money to throw up another extractor, but with the Spore Crawler in the force, he can actually afford to lose that extractor and force Flying Iron to engage straight up. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Flying Iron is pushing up with his Stalkers and are going to engage, but at the same time, all of the Hydras have pulled back, taking down one of the Void Rays, and the other one is going to have a hard time escaping. But the creep probably spotted. No. Maybe the creep didn't spot. Maybe he was just pulling back because he didn't expect he'd catch it. And I apologize for how jerky the camera is, guys. I'm pretty sure I'm giving somebody motion sickness. But the action is just absolutely scattered everywhere. As long as he moves slow, Zenith shouldn't have a problem with keeping this death ball thing going. I don't think Spore Crawlers take damage whenever they're burrowed off of creep, like when the creep recedes underneath them, but I don't think they take damage when they're just walking off of creep, which is what's going to happen here. So this is basically an invulnerable mobile structure, and by invulnerable I mean it's going to be the last thing that's targeted because it can't fire back. Here comes the big push. Guardian Shield, Death Ball, Tactics. Oh, everybody pushing in. Will they target down that Spore Crawler? It looks like they do, but they don't notice the spine, taking some massive damage from the Hydralisk. The Spine Crawler had better pull back. No, they're targeting down that too. It looks like the probes are going for it, but will they get the surround? Oh my goodness, this is so incredibly close. The targeting fire wasn't enough. All the probes are down. Now Protoss has absolutely no forces on the field at all, just a single probe. Good job targeting down the Spore Crawler. That was very well done. The Spine Crawler is what did you in. If it was just a single crawler unit, you would have had no issue at all, Flying Iron. But the fact that the Hydralisks were there just doing some massive damage, those Void Rays were already weak, and yeah, there's nothing left to do but GG out of the game, and I think you must have done that on Allied chat or something like that because I can't see that you GG'd. That's it for me, guys. It was a fantastic game. Zenith, I'm assuming that you posted this. Very, very well done. I am Ibigandscary. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.